Now what I want to talk here, there's an awful lot one can talk about in terms of mobility, because mobility can be seen in different aspects, from the movement of people, geographical mobility, whether it's intranational or transnational, to interdisciplinary mobility, to sectoral mobility and virtual mobility. The focus I'm going to keep is that on mobility beyond academia, in other words, mobility into employment as part of a PhD, and how that link can be made. And it's going back to the points that Neville made in his opening remarks, that the idea of preparing people for a career. And often, excuse me, and often it's not a question of people learning new skills, it's recognizing the fact that they have an awful lot of these skills acquired either through coursework or indeed through the very practice of the doctorate itself. Managing and being managed in a very stressful situation, which they often won't find in many working environments. They're a lot more relaxed than doing their doctorate. I'm going to divide this into three parts. One is going to focus on policy, and one on practice, and the third on challenges. And in terms of the approach, I want to look at this from a European and international perspective rather than an Irish perspective, because there's an awful lot happening out there. There's a lot of data which is really quite interesting. And there's some very interesting surveys and studies that have been carried on across Europe, which actually provide an awful lot of information, because they also provide the opportunity to compare and contrast, given the fact that Ireland is one of the EU 28 is always part of these types of surveys. Now, the first point I wanted to show you, the first data I wanted to show you, this is very kindly provided by the Higher Education Authority. This is a representation of the increase in the numbers of PhD candidates in Ireland from 1990 up to 2016. And what you can see, of course, is you can see the increases over time. Through the 90s up to about 2000, the principal reason why it increased was less due to national funding, because national funding for research is relatively small, but it was participation in the European framework funding programs. And in fact, over those periods, for every framework program, Ireland's income doubled overall. We were very, very strong players. In fact, at one point, people used to say Irish researchers in Trinity were more likely to find colleagues and partners in Berlin or in Bratislava or in Budapest than they were in Cork or indeed in other parts of Dublin. That was simply the way it was. That's where you got the money. The shift comes around the late 90s and 2000s with the introduction of the Programme for Research in Third Level Institutions, the Foundation of Science Foundation Ireland, that really injected a vast amount of money into the system. And the system grew up to 2006. And it was only in 2006 that there was a real focus on strategy and development. And the arrow I have there is a strategy for science, technology, and innovation, which is to run from 06 to 2013. The core target was to double the number of doctoral graduates. It was a great catchphrase because it encapsulates in a single thing what you're doing, all the different activities in research. Now, it wasn't unique. Denmark did the same. A number of other countries used the same kind of measures. However, and the big however is, nobody thought about what was going to happen afterwards. So when you get your PhD, what happens next? That was not thought about. And I would say to a large extent in Innovation 2020, the current national policy, it's not really addressed there. Let's say it's addressed in a peripheral manner, but not in a core manner. Just in a European context, just to place Ireland in the European context, this is where we are now. If we're down there at about relatively small number, and interestingly enough, you see that the country with the largest number of doctoral candidates is Germany. Some people would often assume it's the United Kingdom, but it's actually Germany, followed by the UK and then France. You see the sequencing after that.